A set of postulates for the science of language. Leonard Bloomfield. Orono State University. Introductory. The method of postulates, that is, assumptions or axioms and definitions, is fully adequate to mathematics. As for other sciences, the more complex their subject matter, the less amenable are they to this method, since, under it, every descriptive or historical fact becomes the subject of a new postulate. Nevertheless, the postulational method can further the study of language, because it forces us to state explicitly whatever we assume, to define our terms, and to decide what things may exist independently, and what things are interdependent. Point 2. Certain errors can be avoided or corrected by examining and formulating our at present tacit assumptions and defining our often undefined terms. Point 3. Also, the postulational method saves discussion, because it limits our statements to a defined terminology. In particular, it cuts us off from psychological dispute. Point 4. Discussion of the fundamentals of our science. 1. For a clear exposition of this method, see J.W. Young, Lectures on the Fundamental Concepts of Algebra and Geometry, New York, 1911. 1. C. F. A. P. Weiss's Set of Postulates for Psychology, Psychological Review. 3283. 3 examples are many. Bach took for granted that the formative elements of Indo-European were once independent words. This is a needless and unwarranted assumption. The last descendant of his error is the assumption that i.e. compound words are historically derived from phrases. Jacobi, Compositum und Nebensatz, Bonn 1897, this even in Brugg Mann, Grundrisse I. 1, pages 37. 78, cf. Tapa 45. 73 ff. The notion is gaining ground that some forms have less meaning than others and are therefore more subject to phonetic change. Horn, Sprachierpaaren Sprachfunction, Pala Estra 135, Berlin 1921, for one, can discover no workable definition of the term's meaning and phonetic change under which this notion can be upheld. The whole dispute, perhaps today as unstilled as 50 years ago, about the regularity of phonetic change, is at bottom a question of terminology. Recall the difficulties and obscurities in the writings of Humboldt and Steinthal, and the psychological dispute of Paul, Wundt, Delbruck. From our point of view, the last named was wrong in denying the value of descriptive data, but right in saying that it is indifferent what system of psychology a linguist believes in. Grundfragender Sprach. First Chung, Strasbourg 1901. The trouble over the nature of the sentence is largely non-linguistic. Contrast the simplicity and usefulness of Millett's definition adopted below, 153. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 154. Leonard Bloomfield seems to consist one half of obvious truisms, and one half of metaphysics. This is characteristic of matters which form no real part of a subject. They should properly be disposed of by merely naming certain concepts as belonging to the domain of other sciences. Thus, the physiologic and acoustic description of acts of speech belongs to other sciences than ours. The existence and interaction of social groups held together by language is granted by psychology and anthropology. 5 Psychology, in particular, gives us the series, to certain stimuli. A person reacts by speaking, his speech B in turn stimulates his hearers to certain reactions. C.6 By a social habit which every person acquires in infancy from his elders, A, B, C are closely correlated. Within this correlation, the stimuli A which cause an act of speech, and the reaction C which result from it, are very closely linked, because every person acts indifferently as speaker or as hearer. We are free, therefore, without further discussion, to speak of vocal features or sounds B and of stimulus reaction features AC of speech. 2. Form and meaning. 1. Definition. An act of speech is an utterance. 2. Assumption 1. Within certain communities successive utterances are alike or partly alike. A needy stranger at the door says I'm hungry. A child who has eaten and merely wants to put off going to bed says I'm hungry. Linguistics considers only those vocal features which are alike in the two utterances, and only those stimulus reaction features which are alike in the two utterances. Similarly, the book is interesting and put the book away, are partly alike the book. Outside of our science these similarities are Introduction to Comparatives Languisson de Européens 3 Paris 1912, p. 339. I am indebted also to Sapir's book on language New York 1921, and to de Saussure's Cours de linguistique générale 2 Paris 1922, both authors take a steps toward a delimitation of linguistics. 6 cf. Weiss, 1. CP 86, the language responses establish the social type of organization. 6 cf. Weiss, Journal of Philosophy Psychology and Scientific Methods 15. 636, the significant thing about the speak reaction is that it may be either the adequate reaction to a situation, or it may be the adequate stimulus for either another speak reaction or some bodily reaction. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. A set of postulates 155. Only relative, within it they are absolute. This fiction is only in part suspended in historical linguistics. 3. Def. Any such community is a speech community. 4. Def. The totality of utterances that can be made in a speech community is the language of that speech community. We are obliged to predict, hence the words can be made. We say that under certain stimuli a Frenchman or Zulu, etc., will say so and so, and other Frenchmen or Zulus, etc., will react appropriately to his speech, where good informants are available, or for the investigator's own language, the prediction is easy, elsewhere it constitutes the greatest difficulty of descriptive linguistics. 5. Def. That which is alike will be called same. That which is not same is different. This enables us to use these words without reference to non-linguistic shades of sound and meaning. 6. Def. The vocal features common to same or partly same utterances are forms, the corresponding stimulus reaction features are meanings. Thus a form is a recurrent vocal feature which has meaning, and a meaning is a recurrent stimulus reaction feature which corresponds to a form. 7. Assumption 2. Every utterance is made up wholly of forms. 3. Morpheme, word, phrase. 8. Def. A minimum x is an x which does not consist entirely of lesser x's. Thus, if x consists of x2, x3, x4, then x1 is not a minimum x. But if XX consists of X2 X3A, or of X2A, or of A1 A2, or is unanalyzable, then XX is a minimum X9. Def. A minimum form is a morpheme, its meaning a sememe. Thus a morpheme is a recurrent meaningful form which cannot in turn be analyzed into smaller recurrent meaningful forms. Hence any unanalyzable word or formative is a morpheme. 10 Def. A form which may be an utterance is free. A form which is not free is bound. Thus, book the man are free forms, ing as in writing, er as in writer. Are bound forms, the last name differing in meaning from the free form. Air. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 156 Leonard Bloomfield. 11 Def. A minimum free form is a word. A word is thus a form which may be uttered alone with meaning but cannot be analyzed into parts that may all of them be uttered alone with meaning. Thus the word quick cannot be analyzed, the word quickly can be analyzed into quick and ly, but the latter part cannot be uttered alone. The word writer can be analyzed into write and er, but the latter cannot be uttered alone, the word air being, by virtue of different meaning, a different form. The word blackbird can be analyzed into the words black and bird, and the word stress dash, which last cannot be uttered alone, i.e. it differs in form and meaning from the phrase blackbird. 12 Def. A non-minimum free form is a phrase, e.g. the book or the man beat he dog, but not, e.g. book on as in lay the book on the table, for this is meaningless, hence not a form, and not blackbird, which is a minimum free form. 13 Def. A bound form which is part of a word is a formative. A formative may be complex, as Latin verb endings abad, abont, abit, abunt, etc., or minimum and hence a morpheme, as Latin t of third person. 14 Assumption 3. The forms of a language are finite in number. For example of a special assumption. The phenomena of specific languages will no doubt necessitate further assumptions of form, and these will sometimes modify the general assumptions. The following is an example of such a special assumption. Assumption S1. A phrase may contain a bound form which is not part of a word. For example, the possessive z in the man I saw yesterday's daughter. Def. Such a bound form is a phrase formative. This assumption disturbs the definition of phrase above given. Strictly speaking, our assumptions and definitions would demand that we take the man I saw yesterday's daughter as two words. Convenience of analysis makes an assumption like the present one preferable for English. A similar assumption might be convenient for the Philippine ligatures. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. A set of postulates 157. V phonemes. 15 Assumption 4. Different morphemes may be alike or partly alike as to vocal features. Thus book, table B, stay, west st, er agent, er comparative. The assumption implies that the meanings are different. 16 Def. A minimum same of vocal feature is a phoneme or distinctive sound. As, for instance, English B, S, T, the English normal word stress, the Chinese tones. 17 Assumption 5. The number of different phonemes in a language is a small submultiple of the number of forms. 18 Assumption 6. Every form is made up wholly of phonemes. These two assumptions are empiric facts for every language that has been observed, and outside of our science are theoretical necessities. Boas, Handbook of American Indian Languages, Bureau of American Ethnology, Bulletin 40, Volume 1, pages 24 ff. Such a thing as a small difference of sound does not exist in a language. Linguists who believe that certain forms resist phonetic change, implicitly reject these assumptions, though, so far as I can see, we could not work without them. The morphemes of a language can thus be analyzed into a small number of meaningless phonemes. The sememes, on the other hand, which stand in one-to-one correspondence with the morphemes, cannot be further analyzed by linguistic methods. This is no doubt why linguists, confronted with the parallelism of form and meaning, choose form as the basis of classification. 19 Assumption 7. The number of orders of phonemes in the more-phonemes and words of a language is a submultiple of the number of possible orders. 20 Def. The orders which occur are the sound patterns of the gauge. As, English word initial st but never ts. 21 Def. Different forms which are alike as to phonemes are hominy mouse. 6 Construction, categories, parts of speech. 22 Assumption 8. Different non-minimum forms may be alike or partly alike as to the order of the constituent forms and as to stimulus reaction features corresponding to this order. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 158 Leonard Bloomfield. The order may be successive, simultaneous stress and pitch with other phonemes, substitutive French oo for a le, and so on. 23 Def. Such recurrent sames of order are constructions, the corresponding stimulus reaction features are constructional meanings. This expands the use of the term meaning. 24 Def. The construction of formatives in a word is a morphologic construction. Thus, Book S, Ox N have the construction of formative plus formative, and the meaning object in number. 25 Def. The construction of free forms and phrase formatives in a phrase is a syntactic construction. Thus, Richard saw John, the man is beating the dog show the construction of free form plus free form meaning actor acting on goal. 26 Def. A maximum x is an x which is not part of a larger x. 27 Def. A maximum construction in any utterance is a sentence. Thus, a sentence is a construction which, in the given utterance, is not part of any larger construction. Every utterance therefore consists of one or more sentences, and even such utterances as Latin plut, English fire, or ouch, are sentences. 28 Assumption 9. The number of constructions in a language is a small submultiple of the number of forms. 29 Def. Each of the ordered units in a construction is a position. Thus the English construction of formative plus formative meaning object in number has two positions, and that of free form plus free form meaning actor acting on goal has three positions. 30 Assumption 10. Each position in a construction can be filled only by certain forms. Thus, in the English construction of formative plus formative meaning, object in number, the first position can be filled only by certain forma dash tivs noun stems, and the second only by certain other formatives. Affixes of number, such as the plural sign s. And in the English construction of free form plus free form meaning actor, acting on goal, the first and third positions can be filled only by certain free forms object expressions, and the second only by certain other free forms finite verb expressions. This assumption implies the converse, namely, that a given form will appear only in certain positions of certain constructions. Thus, an English noun stem will appear only in the first position of the construction object in number, in the second posi dash shin of the construction formative plus formative meaning object. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. A set of postulates 159. Having such an object long nose, and in certain positions of a certain few other constructions. Similarly, an object expression, such as John, the man, will appear in the first position of the construction actor acting on goal, or in the third, or in certain positions of a certain few other constructions. 31 Def. The meaning of a position is a functional meaning, that is, the constructional meaning of a construction may be divided into parts, one for each position. These parts are functional meanings. It would be more concrete, but perhaps less useful, if we said, the meaning common to all forms that can fill a given position, when they are in that position, is a functional meaning. Thus, in the English construction of object in number, the first position has the functional meaning object, or, more concretely, all the formatives noun stems, which can occur in this position, have in common, when they so appear, the functional meaning object. And in the English construction of actor acting on goal, the first position has the functional meaning actor, or, more concretely, all the free forms object expressions, such as nouns, noun phrases, pronouns, etc., which can occur in this position, have in common, when they so appear, the functional meaning actor. And in this same construction, the third position has the meaning goal, or, more concretely, all the free forms largely the same as those just mentioned which can appear in this position, have in common, when they so appear, the meaning goal. 32 Def. The positions in which a form occurs are its functions. Thus, the word John and the phrase the man have the functions of actor, goal, predicate noun, goal of preposition, and so on. 33 Def. All forms having the same functions constitute a form dash class. Examples of English form classes are noun stems, number affixes, object expressions, finite verb expressions. 34 Def. The functional meanings in which the forms of a form class appear constitute the class meaning. Thus, the meanings found in all the functions of the form class of English object expressions, namely actor, goal, etc. 32 together constitute the class meaning of these forms, which may be summed up as numbered object or in the name object expression. 35 Def. The functional meanings and class meanings of a language are the categories of the language. Thus, the above examples enable us to determine the following Categories of the English language, from functional meanings, object. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 160 Leonard Bloomfield. Number, actor, action, goal, from class meanings, object, number, numbered object, object expression, predicative action, finite verb. Expression. 36 Def. If a form class contains relatively few forms, the meanings of these forms may be called subcategories. Thus, the English category of number contains only two meanings, singular indefinite egg and plural eggs. Hence one may speak of the subcategories of singular and plural. It is convenient to do so when, as in this case, the subcategories play a part in the alternation of other forms. C7. 37 Def. A form class of words is a word class. 38 Def. The maximum word classes of a language are the parts of speech of that language. 7 Alternation. 39 Assumption. 11. In a construction, a phoneme may alternate with another phoneme according to accompanying phonemes. As in Sanskrit Sandhi, Tad Pakati, Tad Bharti. 40 Def. Such alternation is phonetic alternation. 41 Assumption. 12. In a construction, a form may alternate with another form according to accompanying forms. As, in English, the plural affixes book ss, boy sz, ox n, jeet. Or, verbs, he skates, they skate, according to number of actor. 42 Def. Such alternation is formal alternation. 43 Assumption. 13. Absence of sound may be a phonetic or formal alternate. 44 Def. Such an alternate is a zero element. The postulation of zero elements is necessary for Sanskrit Payani. 1, 61, for Primitive Indo-European Millet, Introduction 4 L'Etude. Comparative de Langues Indo-Européennes 3 Paris 1912, p. 127 f, and probably economical for English singular book with the fix 0, as opposed to book s, cffoot, feet. 45 Def. If a formal alternation is determined by the phonemes of the accompanying forms, it is an automatic alternation. Thus, the alternation of s, z, ez in the regular English plural suffix of nouns is automatic, being determined by the final phoneme of the noun stem. This differs from phonetic alternation since not every s in English is subject to this alternation, but only the form or dash. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. A set of postulates. 161. Themes of this form. Similarly, Sanskrit Tat Pakati, Tan Nayatai, since the alternation takes place only in word final contrast, e.g. Ratnam. The phonetic alternations and the automatic formal alternations of a language allow of a classification of the phonemes, to which the sound dash patterns 20 may contribute. Thus, the regular English plural suffix implies a classification of those English phonemes, the great majority, which may occur at the end of a noun stem, into the classes 1 sibilant, 2 non-sibilant, a, unvoiced, b, voiced. Ordinary phonetics can go no farther than this. Phonetics which goes farther is either a personal skill or a science for the laboratory. 46 Def. The classification of phonemes implied in the sound patterns, phonetic alternations, and automatic formal alternations of a language is the phonetic pattern. For the sound patterns and phonetic patterns see superior, language, 1. 37, and cf. Baudouin de Courtenay, Versichiner Theorie phonetischer. Alternationen, Strasbourg 1895. 47 Def. If formal alternation is otherwise determined, it is grammatical alternation. As, English plural suffix n in ox n alternating with the regular suffix above described, the verb forms in he skates, they skate. 48 Def. If the accompanying forms which determine one grammatical variant predominate as to number, this variant is said to be regular, the others are irregular, thus n is an irregular plural suffix. 49 Def. If in a construction all the component forms are irregular, the whole form is suppletive. If go be taken as the stem of the verb, then the past went is suppletive. Under this definition bet eras comparative of good would not be supple dash. Tiv, since the ending er is regular, a definition that will include such forms can be made only within English or Indo-European grammar, after stem and affix have been defined for this language. 50 Def. Whatever has meaning is a gloss semet. The meaning of a gloss semet is a noem. Thus the term gloss semet includes 1 forms, 2 constructions, 3 zero elements. The assumptions and definitions so far made will probably make it easy to define the grammatical phenomena of any language, both morphologic affixation, reduplication, composition and syntactic cross-reference, concord, government, word order, though I cannot say whether any such further definitions would apply to all languages. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 162 Leonard Bloomfield. Other notions, such as subject, predicate, verb, noun, will apply only to some languages, and may have to be defined differently for different ones unless, indeed, we prefer to invent new terms for divergent phe-nomina. 8 Historical linguistics. The following assumptions and definitions for historical linguistics are added for the sake of completeness. Insofar as they are correctly formulated, they will merely restate the working method of the great majority of linguists. 51 Assumption H1. Every language changes at a rate which leaves contemporary persons free to communicate without disturbance. The ways in which it changes are described in Assumptions H3 and following. 52 Assumption H2. Among persons, linguistic change is uniform in ratio with the amount of communication between them. These two assumptions and the assumptions and definitions based on them are necessarily loose, not because the process is too slow for any methods of direct observation that have been used. Assumptions could ignore this, but because in historical linguistics it is our purpose to envisage the phenomena as relative. Ultimately no two speakers, and indeed no two utterances, have the same dialect. Our assumptions must leave us free to examine the historical process with any desired degree of detail. 53 Def. If linguistic change results in groups of persons between which communication is disturbed, these groups speak dialects of the language. 54 Def. A relatively uniform auxiliary dialect used by such groups is A standard language. 55 Def. If linguistic change results in groups of persons between which communication is impossible, these groups speak related languages. 56 Assumption H3. Phonemes or classes of phonemes may gradually change. For classes of phonemes see 45, 46. 57 Def. Such change is sound change. This assumption, by naming phonemes, implies that meaning is not involved, owing to the assumptions that limit the number of phonemes. Assumptions 5 and 6, the change must affect the phonemes at every. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. A set of postulates 163. Occurrence and do away with the older form of any phoneme that is changed. 58 Assumption H4. Sound change may affect phonemes or classes of phonemes in the environment of certain other phonemes or classes of phonemes. 59 Def. This change is conditioned sound change. 60 Assumption H5. Sound change preponderantly favors shorter forms. 761. Assumption H6. Linguistic change may substitute sames for difference. 62 Def. This change is analogic change. 63 Def. Analogic change which creates or enlarges a glossema is contamination. For example, creation of a morpheme, pre-Germanic whereas. 4, Fimp 5 Feudres, Fimf. Increase in size of a morpheme, late Latin grave, leve greve, i.e. Italian. 64 Def. Analogic change which extends the use of a glossema is adaptation. Late Latin redere rendera, extending to a new word the morpheme. And of prendera, piendera, attendera viendera. 65 Def. Adaptation which replaces one alternate by another is proportional analogy. English BJC Book S, the plural affixes vary according to the accom dash. Painting noun stem grammatical alternation, 41, and now one. Alternate replaces another. The diagram showing the proportional character is familiar. 66 Def. Analogic change of formatives is formal analogy. It may of course be contamination, adaptation, or proportional analogy. In a language in which stems and affixes are definable, it is customary to distinguish between material formal analogy affecting stems and grammatical formal analogy affecting affixes. 67 Def. Analogic change of words is semantic change. It may of course be contaminative, adaptive, or proportional. E.g. English mead pabulum caro, or home heim house. Probably proportional, he left the bones and took the flesh, he left the bones and took the meat. Assumptions H5 and H7 try to embody the results of Jespersen's progress in land dash. Gage, New York 1894. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions. 164 Leonard, Bloomfield. She cooked the beans with the flesh, she cooked the beans with the meat. They have a lovely house, they have a lovely home. Intensive, a fine new house for sale, a fine new home for sale. Intensive. 8. 68 Assumption H7. Analogic change predominantly disfavors irregular glossemas and those which diverge from their fellows, it tends to disfavor them in inverse ratio to their frequency of occurrence. This is necessarily vague, because we know little about replacement and obsolescence through such factors as unusual homonymy, word dash, taboo, and other deviations of glossemez, that is, about inadequacy of glossemez and its effects. Cf. July 6 Ron, Pathologie et Thérapeutique. Verbals, Collection Linguistique, Volume 11, Paris 1921. 69 Assumption H8. Whoever speaks a foreign language or dialect may in it substitute resemblant features of his native speech. 70 Def. This is linguistic substitution. 71 Def. Linguistic substitution of phonemes is sound substitution. 72 Assumption H9. Whoever hears a foreign language or dialect may adopt features of it into his own speech. 73 Def. Such adoption is linguistic borrowing. 74. Def. Borrowed words are loan words. 75 Assumption H10. The phonemes of analogic forms and loan dash words may be changed so as to fit the sound patterns of the language. Western European Peregrinus Pilgrim, German Kliapel knu Appell. 76 Def. Such change is sudden sound change. 77 Assumption H11. Glossemez may go out of use. Compare the comment on Assumption H7, 68. 8 The word intensive is meant mirlido described meaning of homain its new use. Intensivio house and is not meant as a technical term. Cf. also Croesque language 2. 35 to 45 1926. This content downloaded from 192.87.79.51 on Friday, August 8, 2014, 12:12 and 32 seconds UTC. All use subject to JSTOR terms and conditions.